Thank you very much. First of all, let me salute Executive Director Katie Ivara Imasweni. I'm not even sure whether I'm pronouncing the name well. And Secretary General Bianca Skapani. I don't know if there is any ambassador here. According to the invitation, may I salute any ambassador or any diplomatic member present in here. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon anyway. First of all, let me thank the Great Africa Network for Women for taking note of me to be one of the women concerned with the 21st century, as one of the women in the 21st century who is concerned with the issues of women, and that I should take part in giving some of the views that I know on what the challenges the women are going through now. I looked at it from the background, how much a woman has strived to be where a woman is today. I don't know whether my English is okay, or such as Asia and Latin America endure, be it on the issue of economic marginalization, subordination, multiple burdens, gender or violence, gender stereotyping or violence. Such women are not spared from the pains of discrimination against and exploitation of their persons. Yet, the belief that women occupy a high place in society has been drummed in the minds of many generations of Africa. And of course, the world. A lot of noise has been made that women are a lot and they do a lot. Women's access to educational opportunities, increased participation in the economic and political spheres, and high visibility in various areas of socio-cultural life has recently increased. All this has helped to create the myth that the African woman has no need for a women's liberation movement, as indeed she has already been liberated. Women in Africa. In Africa, women in many countries previously found time to devote themselves to various religious and moral causes, and even to become interested in abolition and the women's rights movements. You see, a woman developed a certain mind to see how she has to be liberated. So that's when they developed a lot of these other organizations, and on the way on how they can move, or they can venture into other areas where they can be accepted as part of the community. Eventually, both working class and the bourgeois women insisted on change and contributed to the success of feminism. This success is still not enough. That's why we are here today. And as we all know, even in the industrialized countries, women continue to fight for equal rights. So what it means is, in Africa, while we suffer, while we see what we are going through, but we must know that also in other countries, like maybe even the example in Germany, they also have some issues which concern women. So it's the world over. But the issue is, in Africa, because of lots of poverty, our issues are easily identified. Our issues are easily noted. And that's why we suffer more. It's because of poverty. While other countries are well developed, so their issues are handled maybe as less seen. For example, I wouldn't even be good if I mention a name of a country, but it's well developed, whereby you see a woman of the same profession is getting 24% less than a man of the same profession. And this is in a well developed country. And those women are still fighting. So our fighting is still there today, and it's not yet enough. We still have a lot to do. Not that we compete with men, no, but that we need to be at a certain level where we can be noted, we can be recognized. Today, however, in addition to economic issues, problems of sexual self-determination have come to the foreground. Women in many non-Western countries, and especially in the so-called third world, generally live in a state of subjection and misery. Most of their energy is consumed by a hard and unrelenting struggle for sheer survival, mostly in Africa, because of the kind of status that we have. So our women, it's not in a way of accepting, but they just feel, let me just work, maybe for my children, but at least tomorrow has to come. That's the kind of life that most women do have. Thus, for them, any talk about sexual liberation in the Western sense sounds at best irrelevant and at worst frivolous. Their concerns are more elementary and more pressing. You see, so if you say, okay, a woman and a man can do this, how many of the rural people can understand that? To them, it's, I'm a wife and I need to do this. I'm a mother, I just need to do this. A stock global picture indicates that more than 1 billion women, that is the majority of the world's female population, live in poor rural areas. For example, I give an example of my own country in Malawi, whereby about, let's say, 55% of women live in rural areas. And we know, in my country, I just put in this example that for the past 5 years, the government has done a lot on trying to curb the suffering of women, and the best they could do is to make sure that women in the rural areas, because they cannot manage to fend for themselves, so the best the government can do is to make sure that rural women have food which they can manage to feed their families. And when we talk of families, it's children. So the government has done a lot on that one. At least now women or the families in the rural areas have enough food to support them. And a woman knows that tomorrow I have enough food for my children. Most women in African countries are illiterate, malnourished, exhausted, or even ill, and are forced to work long hours for little reward. You see, another problem that we have is the women in the rural areas, because of poor access to certain issues, most of them are illiterate, and there is no way an illiterate person can manage anything, never. And most of them are women. Because a woman cannot leave home, leave the children, and go to towns and start to look for jobs or start to look for school. It's different from men. Men can manage to do that because they leave home, they don't have children. They don't carry children, but children are theirs. You understand what I mean? Naturally, men, here I come now, naturally men share many of these hardships, and we're always with them. But women still bear the greatest burden. In nearly all underdeveloped countries, boys are favored over girls from the moment of birth, since parents consider sons as a guarantee for their economic security in times of need. This is a myth. This is a taboo. This is a taboo anyway in most African countries, whereby, but it's now finishing, whereby parents now are educating both girls and boys. But in the past, some, let's say in my own country, boys were being given better chance to go to school than girls, because some parents would think a boy goes further with education, a girl has just to be in the kitchen and get married. But now the trend is changing because of the fight of the women, as I talked in the first place there. In emergencies and in case of natural disasters, women needs also take second place. I put this as it's true in some countries where there has been civil wars, and even some of our own boys are recruited to be soldiers, and they participate in sexually harassing their own women. So you can see here that some of the problems which women are facing are derived from our own families, derived from our own areas, derived from our own countries, derived from our own regions. So you see, we see here that we have a lot to do, because problems are starting right from maybe inside our own homes. What do we need to do? And it's a woman who is at the disadvantage. Backbreaking work and constant pregnancies keep women